Today we're going to take a look at two devices from ISDT, specifically the P10 Smart Battery Charger and the Batgo Lipo Checker. In today's video I'm going to give you an overview of these two devices, walk you through what the features are, show you them in use, and then give you my thoughts at the end. Now, just to be clear up front, I bought these devices with my own money. I have not been asked by ISDT to make this video. I am simply giving you my thoughts as a purchaser, as a user, just to give you an idea if you should consider buying these devices or not. Now, just quickly before we take a closer look at them, I just want to talk about what I'm going to be doing over the next couple of weeks as well around lipo charging, because I've bought these as part of a wider project to just try and make things a little bit safer in the way I charge my lipo batteries. I'm redoing my charging area and I'm putting some processes in place just to try and reduce the risk of something going wrong. Now, in the last year, I actually had two lipos go up whilst in charge. They didn't go particularly badly and they just popped and let off gas. However, this has been enough for me to start thinking about trying to put some safety procedures in place just in case the worst thing happened. Now, just last week, other people have been posting images, and Ken from Original Dobo, if you haven't seen his channel, I'll put a link to it, had a lipo go up whilst charging. So we all do need to be very aware of the risks. And as I've already said, this is all part of my new strategy, and I'll talk about that in a future number of videos over the next couple of weeks. If you're interested in seeing them, please do consider hitting the subscribe button and don't forget to hit the little bell as well. That way you'll get an update when it's released. Anyway, let's get on with this video. Let's take a look at the P10 first of all, and then we'll take a look at the Smart BatteryGo. So the P10 from ISDT is a high power synchronous dual channel battery charger. It features up to 20 amp total output or 2 times 250 watts, although it does appear that the full charging output is 400 watts whilst using both at the same time. Now, this is a DC based battery charger. It does not have a built-in AC supply, so you will need to either have your own power supply to be able to power this, or you will need to be able to power it off a battery. It does accept 10 to 30 volt main input, so it does give you quite a wide range. Now, this charger also supports up to 6S, so it is 1 to 26.4 volt output, and as I've said, up to 250 watt per channel or 20 amp max. Now, taking a closer look at the device itself, in the box you'll find the user guide. You get some nice stickers. They include a screen protector, which is a nice little feature because this is a small and portable charger, so it does mean it could get knocked about a bit, and having a screen protector included is a nice little feature. And then in the bottom of the box, you'll find the actual device itself. Now, as I've said, because this is a DC only, it is nice and small. It really is very small, very compact, and it has everything that you need dotted around it on each side, which we'll come to in a second. Now, just up front, I want to say something about this. This is a smart battery charger only. It does charging and balancing, but it does not do discharging. So if you were looking for a whole charger to have on the bench to do everything, this probably isn't the best one to look at. For me, the reason I've ordered this is I'm going to be using a number of chargers rather than using one with a parallel charging board. So for me, this was the ideal solution. And if you're looking to set something up like a number of chargers on the bench, having a device like this is quite a nice option because you're not having to spend more with those other features, and it covers all of the basics as well. Now, taking a look around the device. On the front, you've got this nice large color LCD screen, and we'll take a look at that in a second. We've got our buttons for our two channels. You've got a rocker up and down in the middle, and then we've got a button that selects each channel, and we'll look at that closely when we turn it on. Moving up to the top, you can see that we've got an XT60. This is the DC power input. Again, that allows that 10 to 30 volts. You've got a fan for cooling, and there's a USB-C port for upgrading the firmware. So if they do release any new features in the future, they will be available via that. On the bottom, there's nothing at all. And then on each side, you've got the channel outputs, depending on which side you want. So on the left side, we've got our 2 to 6S balance port input with our XT60 for channel 1. And then moving over to channel 2, again, 2 to 6X balance port with our XT60 output. And then jumping over to the back, it simply has the labeling and all of the information. Now, size-wise, the device's dimensions are 90.5 by 90.5 by 47 millimeters, and it weighs about 250 grams. So again, it's not the largest charger in the world. It isn't the smallest either, but it is a nice size overall, and you wouldn't really have any issues tossing it in the back of a backpack. Now, just something to note is when you get it, it doesn't have any cables at all, so you will need to make up your own DC input cable to actually power this as well. It's a standard XT60, but again, it is just worth noting when you get it, you only get the charger, the screen protector, the nice little pack of stickers, and the user guide. Now, to demo this on the bench, I'm going to use a Lipo. Now, the nice thing about that is you can use this out in the field with a battery as well to charge others. This is just one of my bench supplies. What we're going to do is plug him in, power it up, and then you can see the device turns on and the colour screen comes to life. Now, the screen is split up into two sides. We've got our side 1, which is this side here, and our side 2, which is this side here. You then have got the buttons. So for instance, if I press that button, it puts that left side onto full screen, and this allows you to scroll through the various information about a battery, and we'll plug one in and take a look at that in a second. We can then press it for the other side and it moves over to there, and we'll scroll through for that one. We can then press and hold both, and this will then take us into the main menu system for the device as well, which gives us our dual track, our parallel track, our DC power on channel 1, as well as our system settings. And then to go in, you simply press the button. Under the system settings, we have things such as lowest input voltage, maximum input power, backlight options, volume, because it does beep, completion tone, whether you want it to be single or repeat. I put it on single. Split screen, how long it stays in split screen before it goes back. Batgo channel 1, which we'll talk about in a minute. Batgo channel 2. Language, theme, whether you want it to keep trickling. A self-test, calibration options, and system info, and then back. Now, to use this charger, it's really fairly straightforward. We take your battery, so we're going to take a 3S Nano Pack, we're going to plug him in, and we'll plug in our balance port as well, making sure that we get it in the right place. If I then press onto number 1, you can now see that some information has come on. So it's now showing us the pack voltage, the individual cell voltages. So this pack is currently at 3.8102. If I scroll down, it's giving us just some more information, such as the temperature and everything else. So if we wanted to charge this battery, what we would do is press and hold number 1 for that side. We can then manually adjust the settings here if we want to. So we've got our LiPo. So if I press that, we can change it to LiPo high voltage, LiPo lithium ion, Life, PB, nickel metal hydrides, all of the usual suspects. So we're going to keep this as LiPo. You can set the condition voltage, so what voltage you want it to finish in. So we're going to say you can go all the way down as well on this, which allows you to actually adjust the output, the final output voltage. You've got your cell count, so if you did put a battery on and it didn't auto detect it properly, you can set this as well. And then you can change your current for charging. And the nice thing about this is it has some remembered features from what you've done last. So you've got your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is your last used settings. And then below this, you can go down and select what charge current you want. So for this, what I'm going to do is just say 0.5 amp because I am taking it off another battery. And then to start charging, you would simply press start. And you can now see that the charging process has begun. At the top, we've got our timer, we've got our current charge output, our current milliamp output, which is actually being put into the battery. And then it gives you our voltage into the battery, voltage into the charger, voltage into the battery, temperature. And if we scroll up, we can then go up and see some of the other information. So we can now look at what the internal resistance is of the cells on this battery as well, and then the current cell voltage. So it gives you all of the information you need to be able to actually charge your battery and make sure everything is correct. Now, something I would say is before you ever charge a battery or you start charging, just always make sure that your internal resistance is good. You want to be looking for about below 10, ideally, at all times. Anything above 10 is starting to get a bit concerning. Anything below that should be absolutely fine. As you can see, these cells are 3.9, so absolutely no problems there at all. Now, if you leave the battery like this, what it will actually do is it will return back to that dual display as well. So if you wanted to charge a second battery, it allows you to then do it that way. Now, I'm just going to grab another pack, and then you can see it's populated on the blue side now, showing us it's another 3S pack and everything like that. So if I wanted to check that one, so we can go in, we can check what the current voltages are of the cells. And again, we can look at the voltage going into the charger, 14.9, the battery voltage at the output port, and our temperature. And if we wanted to charge this one as well, we simply press and hold. We've got 3S, and again, I'll keep this one the same, 0.5, hit start, and then it'll start to charge that battery too. So now we're charging both batteries off the charger, off obviously this battery here. Ideally you'd want a power supply at this moment in time, but the nice thing is it does allow you to do that dual battery charging, and it is a lot safer charging batteries like this than with a parallel board. Parallel board charging carries serious risk, and that is something I'm going to explain more in the other videos I've got coming in the future. However, that is one of the reasons I bought this device, is because it allows you nice and quickly and easily to parallel charge two batteries on the bench at the same time, and you are much better having multiples of chargers like this rather than having one big charger with a parallel charging board, because that's what I've been doing, because that just carries so much more risk. Now, just before I wrap it up on this, I just want to talk about a couple of the other features. If we go into the main menu, you've got this dual task and parallel task modes, which allows you to use two batteries to charge. I haven't tried it, but it looks like you put two inputs from a single battery in and then output via there. Not 100% sure it works that way. It's something I need to play with. They do talk about it in the manual, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. You've also then got a DC power option mode, which allows it just to act as a normal DC power supply. So you can set the output voltage, output current, and then you can turn that on and off as well, depending on what you want to do. Now, just to give you my thoughts on the P10, having spent about 2 weeks with it. Overall, I have to say it does everything I expect a small charger to do. I did know that it didn't have a built-in discharger before I bought it, so that isn't a problem for me. However, if you do need a discharging circuit, this probably isn't the model for you. It's straightforward, quick and easy to use. I like the large color display. I like the way everything is laid out. The menu system is fairly straightforward. It would be nicer if things like charging to storage charge was a bit easier. So for instance, as far as I can tell, the only way to get to storage voltage is actually changing the output here to 3.8 volt rather than have a just charge to storage, having a separate mode, I'm trying to say. Most of my other chargers have a storage charge mode and a normal charge mode, whereas this doesn't appear to have that. You simply have to change the output voltage, which is a little bit of a faff, if I am honest. However, other than that, it does everything I expect the charger to do. Price-wise, it's not the cheapest small charger on the market. I paid about £45–50 for this in the UK. I believe it's between $50 and $65 in the US, so it isn't as cheap as some of the other chargers on the market, but it does feel of a decent quality. And if you do want a charger that does have some of these features like the dual parallel charging and it's portable, it's probably worth a look. Really, the final verdict is there's not a lot to not like for a portable charger. I wish they did have some extra little features like the storage mode, and if you're looking to do something like I'm doing with these multiple chargers rather than use parallel charging, having a few of these would probably do you quite well. Anyway, that's it for this one. Next, we're going to take a look at the Batgo and talk a little bit about that, because there's something interesting about this that also is on this charger as well, and that is around this new smart battery feature. And if you look at the XT60, there's an extra pin in there, and we'll talk about that when we talk about this one next. So, getting into the Batgo, again, this is very similar to the P10. We've got a user guide, which we're not going to read because who reads them? Again, some more stickers. Now, as I said, I actually bought 2 of these, so I've now got 3 of these packs of stickers. Again, a screen protector, really nice little addition in the pack. I love it when manufacturers start putting screen protectors in with stuff, and I wish everyone would do it. And then we've got the Lipo Checker below. Now, this isn't the smallest Lipo Checker in the world. So as you can see, I've just grabbed one of my normal little Lipo Checkers, so it is quite a bit bigger overall, but it has a lot more functionality. So taking a closer look over the device itself, on the front, you've got the nice big LCD screen. You've got some buttons for controlling the menus, which we'll look at in a sec. On this side here, we've got our XT60 as well as our balance port up to 8S. So whereas the charger only did 6S, this will check up to 8. On this side, we've got a USB-A, which allows us to actually charge other devices via the Lipo, and this supports up to 12 volt 2 amp via Qualcomm Quick Charge 3.0. And we've got a USB micro for actually updating the firmware. Now, the primary job of this is a Lipo Checker, but it does have a few extra features as well. So what we'll do is we'll plug in one of these batteries. We'll plug in that one. We'll plug in the balance port. And you can see it's turned on. And the first thing it comes on the display is shows us the information about the battery we've got plugged in. So we've got our total pack voltage, our deviation between the cells, which is these over here. We've got our Lipo type and our remaining estimated capacity. So it's saying 29%. And then here you can see the voltages on each cell. So we've got 3.825, 3.787 and 3.849. And these digits go out to 3 places, which is a nice feature. Now, if we press the center button, this will take us into the main menu that has some of the other functionality. So if I scroll all the way to the top, we have our language options, which allows us to set the language of the device. We've got our backlight mode, our power saver mode, our volume, our system information. So this will tell us what the firmware is and things like that. We've got our receiver test function, because this device does also act as a receiver tester via either PWM or Sbus. So you can actually use it to check what the signals are showing. So if I go in, you can see it says the channels on that one. Or if I go to PWM mode, it allows you to actually check that as well. And you can plug them in via the port on the side. You've got your USB charge options, which allows you to enable that USB, our cell balance feature, and our back option as well. If we look at the cell balance option, this is a nice easy feature. You simply click it, click start, and it will begin to balance the cells for you. And you simply leave the device plugged in to the battery and it'll sort them out. You can see it's highlighted cells 1 and 3 as needing to be balanced because that's the higher of the 3 cells. So it would then simply begin to bleed off that voltage all the way down until all 3 cells are actually balanced. Now, I did this on a battery the other day, and I'll be honest, it was very, very accurate. It literally got the cells identical down to that last 3rd digit place after the point. So I was really impressed with how well this seemed to balance. It is by far the most accurate device I have here next to my multimeter for checking the battery voltages. This thing seems to have started to wander quite a bit, but this has been absolutely bang on. Also, you'll note when the display goes off, it's got a nice feature that there's a little LED up here that will start to flash when you have entered the balance mode, just to tell you that it is doing something. So if we give it a second, you'll actually see the display dim, and then the display will actually go off to save the battery a bit more. It's part of the power saver, and you can turn this off in the menu. And then it will actually start flashing that LED on the top to tell you that it's actually doing something. It's work in progress. And if we wanted to stop the cell balancing, we can simply hit that. Okay, so just to show you the PWM, and I'll try and show the Sbus as well. You've got currently, I've got a servo tester, just an output connected into the input. We put the negative to negative, and as you can see here, it's currently on 224. If I just press this button here, it'll actually cycle automatically. And you'll see that actually change on the display. And you can see that it is showing you that servo output directly on the display. And if I turn it off there, and I can do it manually, you can see it says 225, 224. So it's absolutely bang on. And as I adjust this down, you can see that the percentage is showing up at the top. the frequency, which is 49 Hertz, and then the pulse width at the bottom, which is, well, we're heading towards 1,000 microseconds, and we're heading all the way down to 708. You can see it's 70 on the display, so literally is bang on. So it's nice if you do want to test some servos and you don't have one to hand, you can actually do it. And let me just jump over to Sbus. Okay, I've been trying to get Sbus to work, but I can't. I don't really know why. I've tried a couple of receivers. I am using FrSky, which is inverted stroke not inverted, depending on which part of the world, of the radio world you live in. But yeah, I can't get Sbus to show at all, although PPM works absolutely fine. Something I need to do a bit of digging into. I don't fully understand why it's not showing. But I can only tell you guys what I find, and what I find is Sbus isn't working, but PWM is. So if you are looking for it as an Sbus tester, be a bit careful on that, and I will report back later once I've spent a bit more time on it. If anyone has any ideas, do put them in the comments. As you can see, we got input. Okay, so to give you the thoughts on the Smart BatteryGo, yeah, overall it does what you expect a Lipo Checker to do. Now, this is an expensive Lipo Checker. I think I paid £25 each for these in the UK. They're about $40 in the US. I'm not sure it's worth it just for a Lipo Checker. Okay, what I really like is display size is really good, and the balances cells very easily as well. I can't though say it's worth the money because of the extra features, because I couldn't get Sbus to work. PWM is nice, but you can get something for $4 or $5 that'll tell you what I was showing you there. So not so sure. I'm not disappointed in the purchase at all. I knew what I was going for with these. I knew they were expensive. The reason I bought two is I want one in my bag and one on the bench. And I think really, if you're after a good quality Lipo Checker that does do up to 8S, that has a great big display, then this is well worth a look. I just wouldn't buy it based on those alleged extra features. One last thing I want to talk about before I wrap this video up is Batgo Technology. Now, these devices support it. What Batgo is an emerging sort of method of having smart battery information from normal LiPos. They're not really normal at that point, but it is a standard that allows the battery to communicate with either the device or the charger to provide more information. Now, these all have a compatible XT60 connector that has an extra pin to allow you to actually get that information into the battery. If I just move to the overhead and show you, and if I just zoom in, you can see that on the XT60 on each side, there's an extra pin there. That isn't a plastic one, that is an actual copper pin. We've got it on that side, on that one there as well. And if we look on this, you can see that there's an extra pin there too. Now, as I've said, it's this technology that has this XT60i connector, and it allows you to get full detailed parameters on the battery. Now, this is something that's quite new, and there's a click link that takes you to the website, which gives you more information on the kind of things that you're going to get from this, and it is something you're going to see more and more happen over the next couple of months and years. But again, this isn't specific to every battery. This is some companies partnering together, so it's ISDT, Banggood, and a number of other companies involved trying to come together, Heli Direct, to put out a smart battery standard. But there's nothing to say this is going to be the main standard that everyone uses. However, it is nice to see, and if it does become more widespread, these devices do support it. Okay, and that pretty much is it for this video. To sum up, overall the charger I'm happy with. I just wish they'd had a storage mode on LiPos, as well as it would be nice to have the discharge function. Overall though, a very nice charger. With regards to the Lipo Checker, bit expensive to be perfectly honest, not so sure about the extra functionality, but I do like the large big screen, very accurate, nice and straightforward. So if you are interested in both of these, I will put a link to them in the description. Now, as I've said, I bought these with my own money, and I was only able to do that from the support of you guys. If you're interested in supporting the channel, please do consider hitting the subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the little bell next to it as well. That way you will get updates when I release the new videos. I've got the ones coming coming on the Lipos and talking about my charge station. There's going to be more charger videos coming, as well as more DJI stuff as well. If you'd like to support us further, there is links to Patreon as well as Buy Me a Coffee. Those people, I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who supports us through Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee. We wouldn't be able to keep the channel going without your support. So a massive thank you. And if you did want to become one of them, there's links to that in the description of this video as well. That's it for this one. Thank you for watching, and I will speak to you guys again soon.